A dog's remarkable journey through a bustling city is captured in this heartwarming video. Viewers will be taken on a captivating adventure as they follow the dog's unexpected encounters and heartwarming moments with the city's diverse residents. The first sliver of dawn, a painter's stroke of pale gold against the inky canvas of night, was Rusty's cue. He wasn't an alarm clock kind of dog. His internal chronometer was far more attuned to the subtle shifts in light and the distant, awakening hum of the metropolis he called home. Rusty, a Pembroke Welsh corgi with a coat the color of burnt caramel and a perpetually inquisitive glint in his intelligent brown eyes, was a creature of delightful contradictions. His short, sturdy legs carried a surprisingly agile and energetic frame, and his expressive face, often crinkled in a corgi smile, could melt the sternest heart. His playful personality was the first thing to stir. A low rumble would begin deep in his chest, escalating into a series of happy yips and a vigorous tail wag that threatened to send his entire back end into a joyful oscillation. He'd nudge his human, Sarah, with a cold, wet nose until she groaned and swatted playfully in his direction. Then it was Tom's turn, usually met with a more immediate, if still sleepy, chuckle. The ritual began. Leash on, a quick pat, and then out into the crisp morning air. Their apartment, nestled on the third floor of a brownstone, overlooked a street that was already beginning to stretch and yawn. The first destination was Harmony Park, a verdant oasis amidst the concrete and steel. Rusty, despite his short stature, trotted with an air of regal importance, his ears swiveling like furry radar dishes, cataloging the morning symphony. The distant rumble of the subway, the cooing of pigeons already staking their claims on statues, the rhythmic thud of a lone jogger's sneakers. In the park, he was a social whirlwind. He'd greet his regulars, a dignified greyhound named Grace, a boisterous Labrador puppy called Max who hadn't quite grown into his paws, and a trio of yappy chihuahuas who, despite their size, ruled their corner with iron wills. Rusty engaged in his signature move, the corgi zoom eyes, short, explosive bursts of speed that often ended in a comical tumble, followed by a shake and an undeterred return to play. He'd chase squirrels with valiant, if ultimately futile, enthusiasm, his barks more playful invitation than predatory threat. After an hour of joyful exertion, it was time for the next stop, the Crusty Loaf, the local bakery. The aroma alone was enough to make Rusty's mouth water. A warm, yeasty cloud of baking bread, sweet pastries, and brewing coffee. Mrs. Gable, the owner, a woman whose smile was as warm as her ovens, always had a small, broken piece of a dog-friendly biscuit ready for him. Rusty would sit patiently, his tail thumping a polite rhythm on the worn wooden floor, until the treat was offered. He'd take it gently, his eyes crinkling in thanks, while Sarah or Tom chatted with Mrs. Gable about the weather or neighborhood news. The journey home often coincided with the arrival of Mr. Henderson, the mailman. Rusty had a special bark for Mr. Henderson, a cheerful, welcoming sound that announced his approach long before the jingle of keys or the rattle of the mail slot. Mr. Henderson, a man with kind eyes and a perpetually friendly demeanor, always had a moment for a scratch behind Rusty's ears. "Morning, Rusty. Keeping the streets safe, are we?" He'd chuckle, and Rusty would respond with an enthusiastic wag, his duty as neighborhood greeter fulfilled. Later in the day, if Sarah worked from home or Tom had an afternoon off, there would be another, more leisurely stroll. This was when Rusty truly shone in his interactions with the community. Children, drawn by his friendly disposition and comical waddle, would often approach. Rusty, ever gentle, would lower his head for pats, his tail a blur of happiness. He seemed to possess an innate understanding of how to interact with each child, a soft nudge for the shy ones, a playful bow for the more boisterous. Families would stop, admiring him, sharing stories of their own pets, creating small, fleeting moments of connection in the often anonymous rush of city life. Rusty wasn't just a pet. He was a furry ambassador of goodwill, a small, four-legged reminder of the simple joys to be found in a shared smile or a gentle touch. Navigating the bustling city streets was an adventure in itself for Rusty. While Sarah or Tom held the leash, Rusty was the true navigator of the sidewalk terrain, his nose to the ground, processing 1,000,000 cents a minute. The cacophony of the city, the impatient honking of taxis, the distant wail of sirens, the rumble of buses exhaling passengers, the melodic chime of a streetcar, was a familiar soundtrack to his explorations. He moved with a surprising deftness, weaving through forests of human legs, his low center of gravity making him an expert at avoiding tripping hazards. His daily walks often took him past a kaleidoscope of city characters. There was the saxophonist on the corner of Elm and Avenue, his mournful melodies weaving through the urban clamor. Rusty would often pause, head tilted, his ears perked, as if trying to decipher the stories hidden within the notes. Sometimes, the musician would wink at him, a silent acknowledgement between two performers. Further down, a young woman with paint-splattered overalls might be capturing the cityscape on a large canvas, her brow furrowed in concentration. Rusty would observe from a polite distance, perhaps sniffing the intriguing scent of turpentine and oil paints that clung to the air. Chalk artists transformed dull gray pavements into vibrant, ephemeral masterpieces, and Rusty would carefully step around their colorful creations, perhaps offering a soft woof of appreciation. Vendors added another layer of sensory delight. The tantalizing aroma of roasting nuts from a cart, the sweet perfume of a flower stall bursting with roses, tulips, and lilies, the savory steam rising from a hot dog stand. Each was a universe of smells for Rusty to explore. He'd often receive a friendly word or a discreetly dropped morsel, a testament to his undeniable charm. One sunny afternoon, while resting on a park bench with Sarah, Rusty noticed an elderly woman sitting alone, her gaze distant and a little melancholic. She had silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and hands, though wrinkled, that moved with a quiet grace as she knitted. Rusty, sensing something, gently pulled on his leash, guiding Sarah closer. With a soft nudge of his nose against the woman's hand, he introduced himself. The woman, whose name was Alara, startled slightly, then a soft smile touched her lips. "Well, hello there, handsome," she said, her voice a little raspy with age. As Sarah and Alara began to chat, Rusty settled at Alara's feet, resting his head on her worn shoe. Alara, it turned out, had lived in the city her entire life. She spoke of a time when horse-drawn carriages still clattered on cobblestone streets, when the towering skyscrapers were just ambitious dreams. She shared stories of dances in grand ballrooms, of wartime rationing, of the ever-changing skyline that she had watched evolve from her window. Rusty listened, or so it seemed, with rapt attention. He'd occasionally lift his head, his brown eyes fixed on Alara's face, as if absorbing every word, every nuance of her memories. He offered silent comfort, a warm, furry presence that seemed to ease the loneliness in Alara's eyes. She, in turn, stroked his soft fur, her fingers finding the itchy spot behind his ears with an expert touch. "You're a good listener, little one," she'd murmur. Through Rusty, a bridge was formed, a connection made between generations, between strangers in a vast city. From his unique, low-to-the-ground perspective, Rusty saw a city that humans often overlooked. He noticed the intricate patterns of cracks in the pavement, the way sunlight dappled through the leaves of a solitary tree, the determined progress of an ant carrying a crumb many times its size. He saw the beauty in a discarded, brightly colored bottle cap, the wonder in a soap bubble drifting on the breeze, the quiet drama of a pigeon courtship ritual. For Rusty, the city wasn't just a collection of buildings and people. It was an endless tapestry of tiny, fascinating moments, each one waiting to be discovered and appreciated. He found wonder in the reflection of the sky in a puddle, in the friendly sniff from another dog, in the way a dropped ice cream cone created an impromptu feast for the sparrows. His world was rich with details, a constant source of stimulation and quiet joy. The city, for all its vibrancy and opportunity, could also be a place of anonymity and occasional sorrow. Rusty, with his keen canine senses, often picked up on emotional undercurrents that humans, caught in their own hurried lives, might miss. One bustling Saturday afternoon, the farmer's market was a riot of color, sound, and scent. Stalls overflowed with fresh produce, artisanal cheeses, and fragrant flowers. People thronged the aisles, their laughter and chatter creating a lively buzz. Rusty, trotting happily beside Tom, was taking it all in, the dropped strawberry here, the scent of grilling sausages there. Suddenly, amidst the cheerful chaos, Rusty stopped dead in his tracks. His ears perked, his body tensed. He let out a soft, anxious whine, tugging insistently on the leash, trying to pull Tom towards a dense knot of shoppers near a flower stall. Tom, initially puzzled, followed Rusty's lead, weaving through the crowd. There, standing near a vibrant display of sunflowers, was a little girl, no older than 5. Her face was tear-streaked, her small shoulders shaking with silent sobs. She clutched a half-eaten candied apple, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. She was lost. People hurried past, some casting a fleeting glance, but no one stopped. Rusty, however, did not hurry past. He approached the child slowly, cautiously, his usual boisterousness replaced by a gentle concern. He whined again, a soft, empathetic sound, and then, with infinite tenderness, he nudged her small hand with his wet nose. The little girl, startled, looked down. Seeing Rusty's kind, concerned eyes, her sobs hitched. She reached out a trembling hand and buried her fingers in his soft fur. Rusty didn't bark loudly or cause a commotion. Instead, he sat patiently beside her, offering a steadfast, furry presence. He licked away a tear that rolled down her cheek. Then, he looked up at Tom, then back at the direction from which they'd come, and let out a series of short, distinct barks. Not alarm barks, but attention-getting ones. He then gently took the hem of the little girl's dress in his mouth, tugging ever so slightly, as if to say, "Come with me." Tom, understanding Rusty's intelligence, quickly scanned the area. "Is she with you?" a nearby vendor asked, her expression concerned. "No, I think she's lost," Tom replied, then knelt beside the girl. "What's your name, sweetie? Are you looking for your mommy or daddy?" Just then, a frantic voice called out, "Lily! Lily, where are you?" A young woman, her face pale with panic, pushed through the crowd. Her eyes fell on her daughter, and then on Rusty, who was still sitting protectively by Lily's side. Relief washed over her face, so profound it was almost painful to watch. "Oh, Lily, thank goodness," she cried, rushing forward and enveloping her daughter in a tight hug. "I was so worried. I just turned around for a second." She looked at Rusty, then at Tom. Thank you so much. Did he find her?" Tom smiled. Rusty here seems to have a knack for knowing when someone needs a friend. The mother, tears now of relief, knelt and stroked Rusty's head. "You clever, wonderful dog," she whispered. Lily, her tears drying, managed a wobbly smile and hugged Rusty around his neck. For a few moments, in the midst of the bustling market, a small circle of warmth and gratitude formed around a corgi, a little girl, and her relieved mother. The emotional impact of Rusty's simple act of compassion was palpable. It wasn't just about finding a lost child. It was about the immediate, unquestioning empathy he had shown. He hadn't hesitated, hadn't judged. He had simply offered comfort and assistance in the best way he knew how. This moment beautifully underscored the profound bond that can exist between humans and animals, a bond built on unconditional love and an innate desire to connect. Rusty's kindness was a ripple in the vast ocean of the city, a small act that restored a little girl to her mother and reminded everyone who witnessed it of the quiet power of compassion. It was a testament to the idea that even in the busiest, most impersonal of places, kindness could bloom, often in the most unexpected of forms. In this case, a short-legged corgi with a very big heart. To Rusty, the city was an ever-shifting, endlessly fascinating sensory smorgasbord. His perception of it was far more intense, more detailed, than that of his human companions. While Sarah and Tom might appreciate a grand vista or a striking piece of architecture, Rusty was cataloging the world at nose level, where the real stories unfolded. The sights were a dizzying kaleidoscope. Towering skyscrapers weren't just tall buildings. They were colossal structures that played hide-and-seek with the sun, casting long, dancing shadows that Rusty would sometimes chase. Neon signs at night painted the wet pavements with vibrant, fleeting colors, turning ordinary puddles into magical portals. He'd watch, fascinated, as pigeons strutted and cooed on ledges, their iridescent feathers glinting in the light, or as a stray cat darted like a shadow through an alleyway. Reflections in shop windows offered glimpses of a parallel world, a world where another corgi, strangely silent, mimicked his every move. He noticed the intricate ironwork on old railings, the way moss stubbornly grew in the cracks of ancient stone walls, and the myriad faces that passed him by, hurried, laughing, thoughtful, worried, each a fleeting snapshot in the city's grand album. The sounds, too, were a complex symphony. Beyond the obvious blare of traffic and sirens, Rusty's keen ears picked up subtleties. The distant clang of construction work, a melody drifting from an open apartment window, the rhythmic click-clack of high heels on the sidewalk, the rustle of newspapers in a vendor's stall, the different languages spoken by passers-by, a rich tapestry of human activity. He could distinguish the specific jingle of Sarah's keys from a dozen others, the unique squeak of the park gate, the low hum of the refrigerators in the corner grocery store. Each sound had a meaning, a context, painting a detailed auditory map of his surroundings. But it was the smells that truly defined the city for Rusty. His nose was his primary informant, a superpowered tool that decoded the environment in ways humans could only imagine. Each lamppost was a bulletin board of canine news, rich with the scent signatures of other dogs who had passed by. The aroma of food was a constant, delightful assault. The spicy tang of curry from an Indian restaurant, the sweet perfume of baking cookies wafting from a cafe, the greasy, irresistible smell of French fries from a fast food joint, the earthy scent of fresh vegetables at a street market. He could smell rain long before the first drop fell, a clean, ozonic tang in the air. He knew the metallic scent of the subway grates, the slightly floral perfume of the elderly lady who lived down the hall, the chalky smell of children's sidewalk drawings, and the uniquely comforting scent of his own home, a blend of Sarah's lavender soap, Tom's coffee, and his own doggy musk. Exploring different neighborhoods was like traveling to new worlds. The quiet, tree-lined streets of the residential quarter offered a different palette of smells: freshly cut grass, blooming flowers, the subtle scent of home cooking. The bustling financial district was a canyon of steel and glass, with a sharper, more metallic olfactory profile. The waterfront brought the briny tang of salt water, the smell of fish, and the creosote of old piers, accompanied by the cries of gulls and the deep thrum of boat engines. Through it all, Rusty demonstrated an incredible ability to find joy in the simplest things. A fluttering leaf skittering across the pavement was an invitation to a gleeful, pouncing chase. A discarded tennis ball, spotted under a bush, was a treasure beyond measure. A friendly pat from a stranger could make his entire body wag with delight. He'd sniff a fire hydrant with the intense concentration of a scholar deciphering an ancient text. The taste of a dropped crumb of a bagel was a gourmet experience. His world was not jaded by routine or expectation. Every day was an opportunity for new discoveries, new smells, new textures, new friends. Rusty's city was not one of stress or indifference, but a place of endless wonder, a playground for the senses, where joy was always just a sniff, a wag, or a friendly nudge away. As dusk began to settle, painting the sky in hues of violet and rose, Rusty's internal clock, finely tuned as ever, signaled that the day's grand adventure was drawing to a close. The walk home was often quieter, the city's frenetic energy mellowing into a softer, evening rhythm. The streetlights flickered on, casting warm pools of light on the sidewalks, and the aroma of dinners cooking wafted from open windows. The final turn onto their street, the familiar sight of their brownstone, always brought a fresh spring to Rusty's short legs. He knew this place. He knew the slightly chipped pane on the front door, the specific creak of the third step on the stoop. As Sarah or Tom fumbled for the keys, Rusty would wait with eager anticipation, his tail thumping a soft tattoo against the door. The moment the door opened, he was enveloped by the scent of home, that unique, comforting blend that meant safety, love, and belonging. It was a stark contrast to the ever-changing olfactory landscape of the city outside. Yet it was the anchor, to all his adventures. He'd greet whoever was home with enthusiastic yips and happy corgi spins, his entire being radiating joy. His food bowl, filled with his favorite kibble, and his water dish, fresh and cool, were waiting. His cozy bed, nestled in a warm corner of the living room, beckoned. After a satisfying meal and a long drink, Rusty would often curl up at Sarah's or Tom's feet, or perhaps hop onto the sofa for a cuddle, a contented sigh escaping his lips. He was tired. Yes, his muscles pleasantly achy from a day of exploration, but it was a good kind of tired. As he drifted off to sleep, his paws twitching as he likely reran his day's adventures in his dreams. Chasing squirrels in Harmony Park, the kind eyes of Alara, the grateful smile of Lily's mother, the myriad scents and sounds of his beloved city. He was the picture of contentment. Rusty's amazing journey through the busy city was not about covering vast distances or performing heroic feats in the human sense. It was about the richness of his daily experience, the connections he forged, and the small, unassuming ways he spread joy. His presence was a reminder that even in a metropolis teeming with millions, individual acts of kindness and connection mattered profoundly. He didn't judge or discriminate. His affection was freely given, his curiosity boundless. He found wonder in the mundane and offered comfort without expectation. The city, through Rusty's eyes, was not a cold, impersonal expanse of concrete and steel, but a vibrant, living entity filled with opportunities for joy, friendship, and small miracles. It was a city of hope, where a friendly nudge from a corgi could bridge the gap between strangers, comfort a lost child, or simply bring a smile to a passerby's face. His life was a testament to the importance of compassion, not just between humans, but between all living beings. Perhaps we could all learn a little from Rusty. Perhaps we, too, could endeavor to see the wonder in our everyday surroundings, to offer a moment of kindness without expecting anything in return, to find joy in the simple connections that weave the fabric of our communities. In the hustle and bustle of our own busy lives, it's easy to overlook these moments, to forget the power of a friendly gesture or an empathetic ear. But as Rusty demonstrated daily, it is these very things that make life in any city or any place truly amazing. His journey was a quiet call to action, to open our eyes, our hearts, and our senses to the beauty and kindness that surrounds us, and to contribute our own small sparks to make the world a little brighter, one wagging tail, one gentle nudge, one shared smile at a time. For in the end, it is these connections that transform a mere collection of streets and buildings into a true community, a city of hope.